Hello everyone. This is a channeled message for December 1st, 2018. We want to remind you that this is a channeled message and that all channeling is limited to the vocabulary and life experiences of the channel. As with all information, always use personal discernment by taking what resonates with you and leaving the rest. If you have ideas and questions or topics that you would like us to channel, please put them in the comments below in all caps. And of course, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and we hope you find this helpful.
We'd like to say we're going to start out with a quote from a famous author. It's a line from a novel, and we think it has great meaning at this time. And that is, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And this is what the planet is going through at this point in time. It seems to most that there's so much turmoil and there's so much upheaval in the world right now, and especially in the United States where it's concentrated, because the United States has always been the light and the darkness of the planet, the good, the very good and the very evil. So when you look at a globe, from where we are, we look down and we see the United States as being this bright light that shines out. Not that it's better than anywhere else on the planet, but it's got the most karma. It's got the most story behind it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That being said, this is why most of the turmoil is coming from that area of the planet. The turmoil that's happening on that part of the planet and that part of the world is resonating everywhere else. I'm seeing lines just going from the United States out to the rest of the planet, to everywhere, because it connects. It's all connected. Just as everybody on the planet is connected by invisible energy lines, so are the countries and the oceans. Everything is connected. So anything that happens, anything that's happening in that part of the world is very connected with everywhere else. It just is that way. The karma of the United States affects everywhere. That being said, it seems right now that everything is topsy-turvy, so to speak. Everything is just, nothing makes sense. Nothing seems to make sense right now to you who live there, of what is happening, what is going on. Why do we have all this controversy and all this division? Well, it's all planned. It's all planned because this has to happen. We have shown, the one who speaks many times, that for the planet to be cleansed, just as your bodies need to be cleansed if you eat something that doesn't agree with your system. Purging is really important. So just as you humans will purge to get rid of anything that's in you that does not belong there, this is what's happening with the planet right now. The planet is in a very, very big purging stage, and so it needs to purge out all the evil, all the negative, all the anger that has been on and a part of this planet for centuries and eons. It is now time. It is time for all of this to be purged out and brought out. And until it's brought out and up to the surface so it can be seen, it cannot be cleansed. It cannot be cleared. So this is what's happening. So it's really of the light, so to speak, that all this darkness that looks like darkness is actually a cleansing for the light, and it's a very positive thing. But even though it doesn't look that way right now to everybody, to people that don't understand this, there are many that do understand this. There are many that do understand what's going on, and they're holding the space. They're the light workers. They're holding the space and have a clearer understanding and a vision of what is happening. And it will, as we have spoken, there will be a time when those people who do understand it will be very important for them to explain to others who have no understanding of what is happening. So we want to try our best to explain that to you to be of useful service when the time comes for it's very important, and we talk about this a lot, but it's very important to know that there will be a useful service for you, all you light workers, to be able to help with this what is to come, when this purging is done. And it may be a bit of a time yet. There's still things that have to be cleansed and cleared out. It is full force now. There's no stopping this. It's absolutely exploding in full force, and but it's going in the right direction, as we have spoken. It's going in the right place. But there is going to be a bit of a bumpy road to get all of it cleared out. Just as, again, with the human body, it sometimes takes a lot and is very uncomfortable, and it creates a discomfort in your body. But once you get out what is not supposed to be in there, you suddenly have a huge release and a huge relief. So this is what the planet will feel, and the people on the planet will feel. So we just want you to know that this is for the good. Just remember that, and remember that it's important to hold the light and hold the space, to try not to get caught up in the negativity as much as possible, to try not to get caught up in the division and the divisiveness, because that just creates more turmoil and adds to the negativity of the planet. So it's important to try to hold that light and hold that space. Granted, we also need to tell you, though, that it is a fight. It's not just to sit back and let the world happen around you. It's also there's a job there to do. I mean, you're all there to do a job, and it's important to know that and remember that, and hold your own and be strong and be steadfast, and understand, when you do understand what's going on and what's happening, it's very important to hold that space too. To just without being negative and fighting, so to speak, you still have your every right. You have that right to hold your own and hold your head up high and believe whatever your belief system is, to believe that. And not waver, not let others have you waver in your belief system. It's a time now more than ever to hold strong and steadfast to your belief system. And even though others try to persuade you differently, or to try to turn you in your thought process, very important to hold. They're showing me, like right now, like a horse with blinders on. Just stick to your path, stick to your truth. Very important right now to do that, even though it's easily to sway away from that. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah, so we're not sitting around and waiting for a ball to drop. We all need to be actively doing whatever we are able to do to affect change, and to help with this purging process, and to be encouraged by it. Is that a correct interpretation?
That's a very good interpretation. Yes, that's very correct. Everybody has their job to do. And everybody is important in this work. There's none better or less than each other. So everybody has their space, everybody has their job, everybody has their connection into the planet. And that's an important thing to remember too, to connect into the planet, to meditate on that and realize that you are part of this system. You are part of this planet. It's not, and even all the people, it's not them versus us. It's never been them versus us. The them versus us concept came from men, from man, from humans. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as that division. Mm-hmm. So we always remember that. But we also must remember that there's a stronghold of evil that needs to be rectified, that needs to be taken out, so to speak, for us to be able to get to that point, for us to be able to the turmoil is always going to be there as long as those who create the turmoil are there, because this is how they want it. So it's very important to understand that this is there are many who are fighting this good fight to once and for all eliminate that evil stronghold that is on this planet, and it's a big, serious fight. It's not
so it's
fun.
It's a war, really.
It really it's we can say it's not only war, it's the war of all wars.
Oh gosh.
It is bigger than you can ever imagine, because it's planetary, it's global, it's more than it's universal. It's many universes. It affects so much that you would never,
like, it affects the entire cosmos.
It really does. So what happens on your planet is of utmost importance, and this is why we are all involved. This is why others, other beings, other galaxies, everybody is watching and involved in this. It's very big. It's bigger than you can imagine. So it's very important. But as small as you think you might be in that place, you're not. You're just as big as that planet. Yeah, everybody has to understand, how important and how big you really are. What great value you really have.
So anyone thinking, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to create change, so I'm just going to go sit on a beach in Maui or something. No, every single person's contributions are making a difference.
Absolutely. And every person's consciousness on this planet is making a huge difference. So it's very important to elevate your consciousness, because that is going to raise the consciousness of other human beings and the planet too. So it's very important, to hold your space, to be conscious and aware of what's happening, and understand correctly that you just can't sit by and let it all happen. Everybody that chose to be here for this time chose to be here for a reason. Some may not even understand or know it yet, but they will in time. Time will tell. Things are changing very, very quickly now, for you on this planet. Things are moving fast. There's going to be a great turmoil. There's going to be, again, a bumpy road to get there. There's going to be more, unfortunately, more false flags, more, as you call them, more things that are going to create turmoil. The evildoers, as we speak of, or we use, that the term I use for them when they talk is strong. It's strong. So and they are, those that control the negativity on this planet are not going to go down without a fight. So this is what's happening. So it is a war. It is a very big war. It's a war of consciousness. In other words, so every single person has that responsibility, so to speak, of keeping the consciousness high and doing their work.
So I have some questions to kind of, so there's a lot of information out there, like a ton. And so and there probably is different timelines, and maybe it might, I don't know exactly how it works, if some people it turns out one way and others another, but I think that if we were able to get some clarification on some of the stuff that is out there, so that people aren't distracted so we have the right information, so that we're not wasting any time. Here's some examples. There's information out there that, let's say, the event, which, some people think the event is one big flash. Some people think that it's a long process. Some people feel like it's a rapture moment where we're all just going to go poof into some magic land of marshmallows and fairies. Mm-hmm. Some people think that that our physical body will die, and then this thing will happen. Some people say, and I know I'm just droning on here, but I just want to put it in perspective how confusing this is to really know which of these ideas do we focus on. And I'll circle the wagons back around in just a second here, but some people say that sort of our systems here on Earth are going to collapse. Like maybe there will be a solar flash, and that knocks out our power grids and different things like that, and we have a worldwide collapse. And that is a catalyst to do the global village thing and to start to rebuild. And that in itself will knock out AI and some of these other things that might be a factor with this cosmic war, I guess, this consciousness war that we're dealing with. And so some people are thinking, okay, we need lots of canned foods and toilet paper. Some people are like, no, we're just going to go poof and be in some beautiful, magical, different place or dimension. So, are we able to know, like, as we are working and preparing, do we need to prepare in a physical way? Like, do we need to be concerned with food storage and things like this? Or do we need to be concerned with activating our light body and letting go of the physical? What do we need to focus on here? Long story short.
Very, very good question. Very good question. Very well put. We talk about timelines, and timelines shift and timelines change. Again, there were other timelines and another timeline where a very negative timeline where things were not going to go well. Things have to be. You have to understand too that things have to be put in place for a shift to happen. So it takes a lot. It's not a given. Nothing's a given that this is the way it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of consciousness. It's a matter of everything being put in its place so the events can happen. We never will say this is exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, because it's consciousness, it's vibrations, it's the energies. There's so many things that are involved in that. Okay. But that being said, what we can tell you is we never think it's a bad idea to be prepared. Being prepared on your third dimensional world is going to be very important. So we can say, and they're saying it may even sound strange for us to say this, but yes, have your supplies. It will never hurt to have supplies on hand. And we say this because we see the turmoil that is happening and the energy is building. The energy of this change, this huge shift, is starting to build and build and build. We can look at it politically. I mean, the politics right now are very, very tense. It's not. People make the mistake of thinking this is just about politics. That is a big misconception. It's not politics. It's literally evil versus good. Mm-hmm. It really is at this point. And this is what, and to simplify it, you call it politics, but it's so much more than politics. So that being said, there is a war going on, and it is, good versus bad, black versus white, light versus dark. It's all the opposites coming together at this point. The fight of that, of who's going to win. So
it's really complicated.
It's very complicated, and they're definitely trying to simplify it and say that this really is what it comes down to. So at this timeline that we're on now, this shift. I mean, there's a huge shift happening right now. There's so much. Energy, solar flares coming from the cosmos, coming from the sun. There's so much coming to the planet right now. A lot of it is for the benefit, for the good of the light workers, of the good military, the good people that are really fighting this fight to the bitter end, even at the risk of their own lives, are fighting this fight. It's a very dark, deep fight. So the answer to the question is, timelines shift, timelines change. The timeline we're on right now is going to be a positive, very positive timeline. It is again going towards that direction where this is going to work this time. The stronghold that they have on this planet and this the whole solar system basically is dissipating. But that's where the fight comes in, because it's not going to be let go easily. It's not going to go without a fight. So the evil is just not going to let go and say we're done. It's going to be the fight to the end. So there are battles being yet to be. So
so being prepared for maybe a mixture of all of these different theories, like being prepared in a physical way, being prepared and practical while doing good and affecting change and helping to fight this consciousness war while healing ourselves and expanding our consciousness. So all of these different camps really need to be blended. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. It's not just one thing, It's not just and when you say the event, that is a very so many. Okay, they're saying a lot of things have to be done to get to that point. There is going to be huge shifts, and everything will be different. Everything will change. We can look at the monetary system. We can look at the political system. We can look at all the systems of the planet. There's so many systems put in place, and these systems that have been put in place are might have started out as a good idea, but have turned into a negative, so to speak. The systems are very controlling now. They've switched the systems from being something that is helpful to something that is hurtful. So these systems do have to be looked into and disevolved in some way.
So they all kind of need to collapse one by one. And that's part of the process?
That is part of the process. That is part of this huge, process that's going on right now. This purging of all the negatives, And so once the negativity and the people who are creating this negativity, once they don't have that power anymore, then everything will fall into place. But it's going to be a process to be able to get, to be able to have all that happen. But it's all being worked on. You have to understand all of this is known and being worked on. So there's so much behind the scenes that are happening that, you are not yet aware of, that has been going on and it's been happening for quite a time now. It's very complicated and a very difficult thing to do. And the decision was made to do it in the least jarring way possible for the people on the planet. It could have gone either way, but once that negativity is loosened up from the planet, now it's a matter of finding the right way to be able to recreate, so to speak. And you don't, the thing that has to be worked on and looked at and is being looked at is what happens next? What is the next step? You don't want to get back into that control system. So, what do you do? So that is all being looked at and being discussed. And goodness, there's off-planet meetings. There are your high military people, your high political people are all meeting off-planet to discuss these things, to discuss them on a planetary level. This is something you're of course not aware of yet, but you will be. And so the saving of the Earth is beyond the Earth, and it is being discussed on many different planetary levels. So so
like the Galactic Federation of Light and some of these other sort of galactic collaborations of beings, type of a thing, working on that level.
Yes, and they don't always agree. There are discussions, there are disagreements. I mean, everybody is trying to figure this out. Also, I mean, there are beings that have much more intelligence than humans do, but there's still different. Everybody has their way of wanting to do this. One of the big things is full disclosure or partial disclosure. There's a lot of different ideas coming in from different places. So it really is a matter of coming up with the best solution, coming up with what makes the most sense. Right now, we are under the understanding that the full disclosure will be the direction to go in, whereas everything will become known to people on your planet all at once. That this will be the only way. At first, they thought it would be too much for people to understand or comprehend. Then the decision was swayed a little bit of no, there's no way that they're going to understand it unless they know all of it. It has to be full disclosure to understand all the layers of this, all the layers of what's been happening on the planet. So this is the direction they're going in now. But there's all, again, a process. It's a process that has to be gone through and has to be looked at, and decisions have to be made as it goes along. things change, so then decisions have to change. But we can tell you that this is what's being looked at now as these meetings take place and as decisions are being made. But know that the powers, the powers that be, the light workers, the light beings, are all on the same page and are really starting to come together now. There was a time when there was fighting amongst even the light workers, basically, of different ideas and different ways to do this. And but now, as the energies are shifting and things are changing, there's a coming together. There's a coming together, a meeting of the mind, so to speak, on the situation, and that is what's making this moving quicker. It's starting to move along now quicker because people are starting to we say people, but beings and everybody involved in this are starting to come together more and starting to agree more. And so this is a really positive thing for the consciousness of everybody to have the same mindset, so to speak, and agreeing about it. So this again is another bit of a shift to the good, to the ending of this, to the getting over this, hump to get to the other side, which is going full speed at this point.
So this is why we're getting a lot of confusing information, is because even beings of a higher level of consciousness are like, not everyone is agreeing on what needs to happen here. There's been talk of essentially the ramifications of what's happening here is rippling out into the cosmos, and we just need to be destroyed. But some want to give us more time. I've heard so many different things, which is why it's essential that everyone is helping. Is that an actual possibility? Is that something that's on the table if we can't get it together here?
Well, it's very interesting that you say that there are so many different theories and so many different ideas. That is because that's what's being discussed. So the energy and vibration, and those who can tap into that are getting all those different bits and pieces of all these different ideas, so to speak. Of different beings, of everybody having their own opinion, and it's like a council. It's like a council of beings, it's Earth and other places that all come together. So you can imagine that everybody has their own idea of what would be the correct way to go with this. So all those different ideas are put in the consciousness of the people on your planet. So they're picking up. They're picking up on these different, the energy of these different ideas that are being talked about and discussed. So that comes into the consciousness. So that creates all these different ideas, and everybody, it's not that anybody's wrong with their information. It's just that they're all, people are picking up different things and then speaking of them as they see them, as they're getting that information. But again, things change. Things are shifting. Things are changing. There's constantly new decisions being made and new information being given. And as it goes along, that changes and that shifts. So as we can only speak as of now. As of now, what is being decided is this is the way it's going to be, with the disclosing to the people what is happening, why it's happening, to make them understand. It's getting to that point. It's going to get to the point that there's on the planet, there's going to be so much disruption and so much anger and so much division that it's going to have to come to that. It's going to have to come to something very large, very important, very big, for that to be remedied, for that to be fixed. And that's what it's building up to right now.
So something such a big scale of a situation that we look past all of these things, and we know that we all have to work together to like if there's a global cataclysm or something like that, we're not going to care about all these nitpicky little things. We're going to go, let's work together and figure this out.
Correct, but we don't see a global catechism. But that's not the direction it's going at this point. Again, it's going to be a much gentler. The decision has been made. The timeline shifted into a more gentler changing of the systems, changing of the environment, so to speak. But it's going to be important for people to understand, why this is happening, where this is coming from. Once people understand, people are very forgiving. Humans are very forgiving. Humans are basically good. Basically, everybody, even the people that are spewing such hatred and divisiveness, basically they just have misinformation. Mm-hmm. They're misguided. They really are not bad people, at heart, at soul. So, it's just that, their role is to be, divisive and argumentative, But once everybody understands and has the common knowledge of truth, the common knowledge of truth will set everybody free. Mm-hmm. And that's easier said than done. So this is what's being discussed too, of how is that happening? How is that going to happen? How is that done? What is the best way to do that? So that's being worked on. But once everybody is on the same page, so to speak, and understands at the same level, then you can start. Then you can go from there. But this turmoil, this turmoil that's leading up to that, is what's going to create it. It's going to create that shift, so to speak.
Well, that's good to know. So, okay, when people talk about New Earth, this concept of New Earth, are we talking about the Earth as we know it now, that we rebuild together and make this a new Earth? Or are we talking about a literal brand new Earth? Like, what does this new, can we have a little bit of clarification on what this new Earth means? Because, I know we're moving into a different part of the solar system. The energies are changing. So at some point, when we are in the new Earth, is it still going to be the very Earth that we are on now and we need to heal the planet and rebuild? Or are we talking about an actual literal new Earth?
The way we see it is there was, again, a timeline that was going to create an absolute new Earth, a new place to go. That the timeline was more of a negative timeline where the present Earth would not be able to survive the outcome, so to speak, of what was predicted and what was happening, what the energies. But again, with the timeline shift, that, as we see it, has shifted that information now to being more of a healing of your planet now. Mm-hmm. And this is all, again, part of what is happening on the surface of the planet. And especially, again, we look at the United States. That's a huge part of what's happening now. So there was a timeline when the evil people, evil doers, as I call them, were going to take over. They were going to win. That would be the negative timeline, where the Earth could have easily been destroyed with World War III. World War III was at one time was a very viable option, and that was being looked at very closely. That's what had to be stopped. The off-planet beings, brothers and sisters, have put a stop to that. That was going to destroy the planet, basically, and many, many people in it. So that was unacceptable to the rest of the solar systems. That was unacceptable. So that was stopped. There was put a stop to that. So there has been off-planet global help in this situation. So the timeline then shifted into a more positive one, where is now the Earth is moving into another dimension. It's traveling through the cosmos, so to speak. The energies are changing. Everything is shifting, and it's definitely more positive. So now as we see it, we see the planet healing itself. Once again, that this stronghold is let go, and we can move on from there. Which work has to be done. There's much work that has to be done. This is something that has been going on for eons of time. So it's not just going to be a snapping fingers and tomorrow everything's great. This is going to be a shift.
So it's not a single event. This is a process.
We don't see it that way at this point. We do see it as being a positive shift into a more positive, more gentle again timeline. Timeline where it's going to be much more a smoother transition once we're over that hump, so to speak.
Which we can continue to improve that timeline basically through every choice that each individual makes.
Correct, and through the consciousness of the beings on the planet. So and off the planet too. I mean, this is a real, definitely a effort by all involved. Watching and waiting for this to happen. So but it is so. The need for a new earth that was in the works, so to speak, but the need for that now is at this point in time is not necessary, because those that were going to destroy the planet lost that option, so to speak. They lost that possibility. So with help from everywhere, so that no longer exists. So it's now again shifted into a more positive area, positive time, and that's not going to ever happen on the planet. So the things are changing, again, all the time, but this is where the planet is going. Again, the people need to be changing their vibration to keep up with the changing of the planet. That's again why a lot of this turmoil is happening, and all the environmental situations happening on the planet. Everything is much more intense. All the weather patterns, everything that's happening to the planet is the worst ever. You see on your news, the worst earthquake, the worst tornado, the worst flood. Everything is the worst because of this shifting into another place, another timeline, another dimension. So that's part of it. Part of it is also man-made, as a lot of you are well aware of. So with all of that, it's a fight. It's a big fight, against nature and against man. But it is going in a positive direction. And so with the bottom line is, once all this is come to fruition and all this is negativity is pulled away, nothing can happen. Let's just say this: we realize nothing can happen until the stronghold of the negative is gone. As long as they have that stronghold, it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to change anything. So that has to be let go first, and then the changes can happen. So this is, again, we're right in that fight. We're there, right there in that fight. So, but it's going in a positive direction, and it's going to be a changing of the planet then. And then once that is done, all the negative things that the evildoers have been doing to this planet, of chemtrails and poisonings of the water, and all the control, all the negative control will be gone, can be gone, and that's when the planet can easily heal, easily come into its own of being fresh and new again, and being a beautiful, wonderful place to live. So that is the goal, and that is what it is moving towards.
Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful to understand, because again, with all of the different ideas, and then there's also, in the sacred texts, there's much talk about different things, and so this idea of a rapture, or it's very confusing. It's like, what are we waiting for here?
Yeah. Let me just say, they want to say just about the rapture. You can the Bible, of course, is interpreted. It's an interpretation, so to speak. Some things in the Bible are very factual. Other things have been definitely embellished and
or altered, maybe
altered and changed for control purposes.
Yeah.
So looking at that, you in this modern day time, you can look at the word rapture and call it ascension. You know, same difference, but just done in a different way. The ideas are the same, but done in a different way, so to speak. So an ascension can mean, you know, many different things too. So we just wanted to throw that at that.
Okay, that's helpful. Again, maybe that goes back to just being prepared with extra provisions while there's a flux. So just sort of being prepared in that way to where, you know, people just have, you know, extra stuff to get them through while there's major change happening.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, and that's why it's good to always be prepared in all the ways that you can. You know, to think about your heating and, you know, things that, you know, will be important if the systems go down. But as far as the Ubuntu movement, that's a wonderful movement. There are so many wonderful things about that, and that is the ultimate goal of the way it should be. Of, you know, not having to be controlled by anything, and money is a very controlling factor. But there are so many processes that have to be gone through till the planet can get to that point. And we see it being able to get to that point, but that is not going to happen again immediately, because there are so many changes that have to be made to be able to get, you know, the mindset to get to that point. Again, these transitions, it's such a transitional period on your planet. There's so many changes happening, and we see it as a step-by-step process. And so this is, you know, again, going to be the ultimate goal of the planet, to be living, you know, free energy, free, you know, health machines, free, you know, healing chambers. You know, all those things exist. All those things already exist. It's just the wrong people have control of them. So once that loosens up again, and once they go away, all those things can become free to all humans, and it will change everything. So it is again step-by-step process of, we have to understand that the very first thing you have to do is get rid of, so to speak, the people that are in control of all these things, that don't want this information to get out and to keep it to themselves. So that is the very first step, and that's really what's happening right now, is being able to rid the planet of that control. And then once that opens up, it's floodgates. We see floodgates as happening of, you know, all the wonderful things that can happen. But once, you know, until that negative control of the planet is there, nothing can change. So this is the fight that's happening now. And that's why we call it the fight against evil and good, light and dark. It really is that important and that serious and that real. So once the light workers and the light beings win this war, then everything can come out. But you have to understand, these systems will never come out as long as those in control don't want them to. So this is what's happening. This is what the fight is. This is what most people don't understand. They don't have knowledge. They don't have access to the knowledge because of the media blocking much of this information. And they belittle and make fun of the alternative information that people are finding. They find a way to make fun of, or to call that conspiracy, or to make it look like those people are crazy. That's because they don't want this information out. Exactly. That would not do them any justice to have that information come out and have their cover blown, so to speak. So this is all control. That's really what we're talking about. So once that control is no longer in existence on your planet, then all bets are off, so to speak. Everything will be accessible, and those that are fighting the good fight, as we say, all over, are really working for you, the people on the planet, to have this happen, to be able to have access to this, because they don't have any, they don't have that as we want to say, reptilian evil inside of them to want that control anymore. So it will free up many things. But on that same note, then new processes and new systems have to be put in place, so to speak, as a transition. So this is what's being worked on and talked about and argued about quite a bit, about how does that happen once, you know, well on the way to getting rid of the evildoers, so to speak, and having a new system. But what would that be? What would that look like? What would work? You know, this is a lot of discussions and a lot of information that has to be, come forth, so to speak.
Well, I feel like this was very helpful. I love and honor you, and I thank all of the beings that participated in this conversation today. Yeah, and if there's any other last things that need to come through, please share.
We honor you and thank you so much for allowing us to speak and be here and try to explain some of the situations that are going on your planet. We also want to say, we do want to leave you with, it really is all about love. That word is overused maybe sometimes on your planet, but it really, really has a deeper meaning than the word. And we want everyone to understand that with all the difficulties and all the division and all the anger that is going on, you still need to love each other on whatever level you can possibly find to do that. It's going to be very important because that's what will last. The love will last. The hate, the anger, the divisiveness is all going to dissipate, but the love will last. So very, very important to hold that in your heart for now, and remember that that's what is going to be there forever.
All right, well that wraps up our session for today. Please don't forget to send us your questions that you might want answered in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks.